Welcome back. Key topic 14, VHF Channel Selection. The FCC rules require each VHF ship station during its hours of operation to maintain a watch on channel 16, which is 156.8 megahertz, whenever such station is not being used for exchanging communications, if you're not otherwise in a conversation. This same VHF radio with an oral watch, a listening watch on channel 16, is also silently guarding VHF channel 70. So you're not actually listening to it. You are tuned into it and your computer is listening, but you don't basically hear anything. So channel 70, 156.525, just a little bit under the oral station, is the DSC calling channel. Recreational VHF radios sample channel 70, but commercial vessels are usually equipped with the more expensive marine radios that offer a dedicated receiver for continuously guarding or listening to VHF channel 70. If the radio is very old and you don't see a red plastic cover DSC button, it's probably a non-DSC capable radio and should be retired immediately. So apparently, even when you're tied up at the dock, you should be monitoring channel 16. And you can see it's on USA, not INT, International. So you're probably in, a simplex mode. And I'm not sure what the MEM stands for, but we'll move on. What channel must VHF FM equipped vessels monitor at all times when the vessel is at sea? Is it 8, 16, 5A, or 1A? Yeah, it's channel 16, so that one's almost too easy. It wasn't 2 months ago, was it? But now it is pretty easy. Channel 16, 156.8 megahertz, the international distress channel. Whenever you're not otherwise exchanging communications. Okay, and apparently the explanation is what I put on the first screen, so I'll have to take a closer look at these. End poll, share the results. Aircraft emergencies, as well as all activated EPIRBs, transmit at 121.5 megahertz, and it's a digital type signal, A3E emission. This throws people off a little bit. I know it does for me, because sometimes we'll see 156.8 interchanged a little bit with 121.5. You're most familiar with it because not only is it the EPIRBs, which are the personal radio beacons, it's also the transponder that is installed in the aircraft, which will, upon impact, it will actually start sending out a signal on 121.5. Now, some of these have been improved, so they also do the double of 121.5, which is 243, and then there's one in the 406 megahertz, which is the data transmission. So basically, all three that I just mentioned are distress type channels that is more for digital as opposed to actually talking on it. You're not going to go to 121.5 and say Mayday. That's going to be basically what your EPIRB is transmitting on, your SART, and the actual not black box, but the orange emergency locator transmitter that's also installed in the aircraft. You may have heard that there's no longer a 121.5 EPIRB satellite guard, so the satellites aren't really listening to it anymore. But even if the satellites aren't listening to them, the EPIRBs continue to transmit a low-power homing signal on 121.5 in addition to their data transmission at 406 megahertz. Therefore, search and rescue can use either method to try to track you down. The question is, what is the aircraft frequency and emission used for distress communications? All right, so emission, you can see that's the second part. A3A, I believe, was the spoken one, and the Fs were the digitals. But I don't think you have to really zero in on that a little bit. Oh, maybe you do, because 121.5, so 121.5 it is in two of the, actually this is kind of a difficult question because it could also be 243, but let me relaunch the poll. So for aircraft, which one of these is used for distress communications? So it's going to be the 121.5 is, and you have to know which emission is it. Is it the F3E or the A3E? I believe A is, it could be either one. I should have probably looked at this before I presented it to you. Let's go ahead and flip through and see which emission it is. It is the A3E. All right, I'll come up with a list of emissions for you and when we circle back to this, which I believe is the next key topic. Hopefully it's not this one. DSC, Digital Selective Calling. The International VHF Digital Selective Calling frequency is the channel 70, which is a little under 156.8. It's the one that's 0.525 megahertz. With this method of communication, digital codes trigger circuits on specially designed receivers. Ordinarily, once you make contact with another station that is set up for DSC, both of you can switch to another frequency. DSC keeps the call up private since no one else can hear it. A distress message on DSC is different because it triggers other DSC radios. Routine messages trigger only those radios set up to receive messages that include a specific DSC code. Which VHF channel is used only for digital selective calling? (70, 16, 22A, or 6? DSC, the digital selective calling channel, is channel 70. Bridge-to-bridge communications. We looked at that briefly. You could see in the chart below it was channel 13. Of course, there are other bridge-to-bridge channels, same as there's other port channels. But the primary one that we're going to be looking at is bridge-to-bridge channel 13. You'll often hear port pilots talking to the large commercial ships that they're bringing into the harbor. I kind of like this diagram here because it is showing the small band between 156 and 162 megahertz in the VHF world. And I know we talked about it. We were saying, oh, 156.8, 156.525. I guess those are in the white part and they're not shown below. But we know that our channel 16 and channel 70 are in this area. Now, apparently, between, all right, 156 goes all the way up to this little hash mark in the deep blue. So 156.8 probably is covered in here somewhere. They're basically showing port ops, or the Vessel Traffic Service, VTS, on channel 12. They're showing bridge to bridge on channel 13. Recreational vessels, you can use channel 72. If you're out in your little speedboat and you've got your radio, you can go ahead and use channel 72. Port operations, use 73. There's some federal channels, etc. But let's see what the question is. Which channel is utilized for the required bridge-to-bridge watch? So when there's certain times when you have to listen to the ship-to-ship channel. Go ahead and launch a poll and see what people think. All right, so what channel for the required bridge-to-bridge watch? Is it channel 70, DSC? Is it VHF FM on channel 16? Well, we already kind of know what those two are. They're not necessarily bridge-to-bridge. C, VHF FM on channel 13 in most areas of the continental United States. It's pretty much exactly what that little diagram showed us. Or the vessel's VHF working frequency. All right, I see we all answered C, so that's got to be the right answer. It certainly is. Channel 13 is the bridge-to-bridge channel in most areas of the continental United States. Okay, we're just flying through this one. All right, we're going to look at channel 8. It's a channel for commercial ships to communicate routine traffic. Channel 8 is not permitted for recreational vessel communications. Every marine VHF channel has a specific purpose. All right, I don't know if I just gave you the answer to the next question. I probably did because I wasn't able to find much else about routine traffic for commercial ships. But let's see what the question is. Okay, the question is going to have to wait for a second. Pleasure craft, we already mentioned 68. You can also use 69. 70, of course, is the digital selective calling. And there's going to be 71, 72, and 78A for routine pleasure craft communications. So basically, they're the ones that surround channel 70. As you can see, pleasure craft operators only have a few ship-to-ship and ship-to-shore, if you want to talk to the yacht club, simplex channels. If you're a for-hire craft, you're a charter, you're a commercial ship, you certainly still have channel 70 digital selective calling, but all of your comm stations are pretty much spread around the dial. 7A, 8, 10, 11, 18A, 19A, 67, 77, 79A, 80A, and 88A. 88A also is for aircraft communications. All right, is that enough numbers? Let's see if I've confused you enough to ask the question yet. Yeah, here we go. Which channel would most likely be used for routine ship-to-ship voice traffic? Let's relaunch the poll. All right, is it 16? No, that's the international distress frequency. You don't want to do routine voice traffic there. Is it 8? Is it 70? Well, no, 70 is the digital selective calling. Or is it 22A? Well, we eliminated 16 and 70, so it's got to be either B or D. How good you are with numbers. That's why probably I accentuated 8 to begin with, because 8 is more than likely the correct answer. 8. What is channel 22A? It's a liaison channel with the U.S. Coast Guard. So basically, that's the only one. If we knew that, which we didn't, we'll just know that most routine ship-to-ship voice traffic does take place on 8. Bridge-to-bridge, 13. Distress, 16. Digital selective calling, 70. I think those are the main channels we have to be concerned with. Okay, maybe not. Ship-to-shore telephone. The local VHF marine operator channels are 24 to 28 and channels 84 to 87. Is that consistent with our chart up here? 24 to 28 and 80 to 87? 84 to 87? No, those are not listed. All right, so this makes channel 28 a public correspondence channel to place a call to a shore telephone. The majority of public correspondence marine operators have vanished from the airwaves. So if you raise anyone on channel 28, it would be unusual. These days, I suppose that's right. You probably have your cell phone in your pocket, so you're probably not going to go and talk to anybody the old style. With the right type of expensive shipboard equipment, you could operate full duplex when making a telephone call from ship to shore. Again, duplex is where you're transmitting on one frequency and receiving on another. So I think they're basically throwing this out, letting us know where the ship-to-shore telephone channels were, and they probably still are reserved there, because there's an old question that's probably going to ask us about that. Yeah, there it is. What channel would you use to place a call to a shore telephone? I'd probably use my cell phone if I'm close enough to a tower. Was it 16, 70, 28, or 6? So I think we can again eliminate 16 and 70 and basically coin flip between 28 and 6. Since we did talk about the 20s and the 80s, we're going to probably zero in on the 28. I don't really recall what the 6 is. That sounds more like bridge to bridge or ship to shore. Bridge to bridge was 13. I'm not sure. We can go back and see what 6 is. Maybe they'll tell us. But yeah, 28. All right, 24 to 28. All right, it's basically the same explanation that I haven't looked at this in a while. What is 6? Is it on our list? It's not on our list. All right, so that was it. Thanks for joining me on that one.